Is Gladiator a good card? People seem torn. Some say he's trash, some people say he's good. Today we are going over the good, the bad, the mechanics, some potential deck lists, and ultimately pass final judgment and see whether or not Gladiator is worth it in this installment of
Is it worth it?
What's up, nerds? Gladiator is about to drop, and he's a little hard to judge. Gladiator is a 3 energy, 7 power card that reads, on reveal, add a card from your opponent's deck to their side of this location. If it has less power, destroy it. So to start, let's just jump into some interactions and mechanics of Gladiator. So first up, on reveals will trigger when Gladiator pulls a card. He pulls Ironheart, it's triggering. He pulls Dr. Doom, it's triggering. So that's definitely a downside, but we will get to that in a bit. Ongoing cards will have their abilities accounted for when he pulls stuff into the lane. Next up is destroy type effects. Wolverine, Bucky, Nimrod, X-23, all of these cards will act as if you played a Carnage on them essentially. They will get destroyed or not destroyed in the case of Colossus. And the last thing we need to point out is sort of obvious, but the effects that will turn off Gladiator would be Zero, Cosmo, because he stops on reveals, Leech, because he just removes text from cards, and the location Deep Space. Good aspects of the Gladiator. He's got big boy stats. Only Maximus has the same value. Yes, Dawkin and some other 3-drops can get over 7 power for 3 energy, but that requires extra steps and a little bit of work. The next positive for Gladiator is there's certain decks that will dread seeing him. Certain decks that rely on key cards will really not appreciate Gladiator pulling their stuff out of the deck. The main things I can think of here are like Zoo, Cerebro, maybe Loki, bounce decks, and move decks. Those will all probably not appreciate you playing a Gladiator. The last positive for Gladiator sort of hinges on whether or not his ability has as many downsides as it might seem. The card could end up being a plug and play card if him pulling cards out of the opponent's deck isn't that bad. Also, in certain metas, he's obviously going to be much better than in other metas. But regardless, he's easy to turn off if you just put in a little bit of effort. People already play Maximus, Red Skull, Typhoid Mary, Destroyer, and they take a little bit more work than Gladiator to make them good, and those are solid cards that we see quite a bit of on the ladder. Maybe Gladiator falls into the same basket as those cards. The bad. This section is a little weird because his bad aspects are really obvious. The main downside of the card is pulling something you don't want to pull. Duh. But that encompasses so many disaster plays or disaster scenarios, it's a really, really big downside of the card. So yeah, that's the first downside. Potential disaster play. The second downside, it's sort of weird, but the Yondu effect. Many new players and some veteran players think Yondu is a disruption card. He ain't. Gladiator's effect sort of has the same Yondu thing. You're pulling a card out of their deck, therefore denying the opponent a card, as long as it gets destroyed. So yeah, sometimes you might be getting rid of a key card that the opponent needs to win the game or for their deck to function properly. But most of the time you are either helping the opponent by letting them get to their key card sooner, or you're triggering an effect that they wouldn't have been able to play otherwise. Alright, enough doom and gloom. Let's get to some deck lists. First up is a type of deck that I think Gladiator will shine in. It's called Off Reveal because I am very clever and creative. In this sort of deck, his downside essentially does not exist. We have Zero, Invisible Woman, Cosmo, and Professor X to help enable our power plays, which are Ebony Maw, Sentry, Atuma, Maximus, and Gladiator. You could even put in something like Dr. Octopus or Destroyer in this list instead of Jeff or Yellow Jacket, and just go all in on the bad on reveal effects. Next up is a deck that doesn't turn off Gladiator, but it's okay with whatever Gladiator pulls because the rest of the deck sort of welcomes it. We have Hood, Black Widow, Viper, Green Goblin, Debris, and even Dr. Octopus to help fill up lanes, maybe even preventing Gladiator from pulling anything at all. It's not bad. And we also have Shang-Chi or Enchantress to get rid of something bad that Gladiator pulled, And then we have cards like Zero to cancel out his effect, and our power plays are Dr. Octopus, Gladiator, Mojo, and Titania. Now, when Annihilus comes out, this deck's going to be way, way better, so maybe this isn't the best place to play Gladiator now, but in a few weeks, yeah. Last up, Power Surfer. You will notice there's no Brood in here. No Brood in a Surfer deck? Blasphemy. Yeah, we're kicking all the lower cost 3 power cards, any of the utility or tech like Killmonger, and we're just packing the biggest, most powerful 3 cost cards all into one deck. We have Zero to turn off our cards like Maximus and Gladiator. We even have Swordmaster and Black Cat because we are running Ghost Rider, so you can just throw out a Swordmaster, not really care what it hits, bring it back with the Ghost Rider. Werewolf triggers a bunch. Almost everything in here is on reveal. Whether or not it's a good or bad on reveal doesn't really matter because Werewolf's gonna flip over there and get some points. And then we got a cheeky little invisible woman here to hide our Maximus and Silver Surfer under. And obviously the Medusa here. Medusa is just a 5 power 2 cost card, as our whole goal here is to play on reveals that are also very, very strong as far as energy to power cost ratio goes. Yeah, this list is actually kind of cool. I've been playing something similar to this where with a strong guy, basically where Gladiator is, and it's not bad. Next up is the Spotlight caches and whether or not I recommend you open Spotlight caches for Gladiator. I can only say if you don't have Loki, then yes, totally open up Spotlight caches. Mirage, whatever, no one really cares. But Loki's one of the best cards on the game, and if you don't get Loki, you might get Gladiator, and he might be really good, he might be bad, but still, you're gonna get Loki as well as Gladiator. Yeah, I would recommend opening Spotlight caches only if you don't have Loki. Now, as far as collector's tokens go, that's 6k tokens for a Gladiator. Nah, no. 6k tokens is a lot, don't do it. Gladiator is not clear cut enough on whether or not he's going to be really good or really bad. So yeah, can't recommend that. All right, that's it. I hope this video helped. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you like any of my content. Oh, and also a huge shout out to my newest members on the channel, Ken Lipson, your regional office max manager, and Lucas Helios. If that's your real last name, that's awesome. That's it though. Later on, nerds. Nah, no.